Hi everyone, and welcome to today's live demonstration of our ILX Learning Hub. My name's Etty, I'm the Content Marketing Executive at ILX. We'll just give it another minute or so for a few people to join. I can see people are still kind of coming in, so we'll give it a second and then we should be good to go, I think. Okay, we'll get started with a few housekeeping bits and hopefully the last few people will sort of filter in as we're going through those. So firstly, you'll notice that you've all come in on mute. Please stay muted throughout the session. If you do have any questions sort of as we're going through the demonstration, there's a little question box in the side which you can pop those into, and then we'll answer those during the Q&A session at the end. Unless it's sort of technical questions, if there's any sort of technical bits, then we will answer those as we're going along. So if you sort of can't hear or can't see, then we'll sort of try and resolve those issues in the chat box. The most common question that we get is the session going to be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded, and you will receive a follow-up email from us tomorrow, so you can watch it back and sort of forward it on to any of your colleagues if you think that they will find it useful as well. We'd also like to just say, sort of give us a follow on social media. We're very active on our Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook channels. So you'll be able to sort of see lots more useful information about the ILX Learning Hub and other kind of webinars and things that we're running in the future. And finally, you'll receive a short sort of feedback form at the end of the session. If you could complete that, we'd really appreciate it. So yeah, without further ado, it's my pleasure to hand over to David Wall, who is our Head of Customer Success Services, and he'll be taking you through the demonstration today. So here you are.
Thanks so much, Etty. So morning everyone, I'm just going to stop sharing that screen now. I'm just going to reshare a different page. If I can just do that. Hope everyone's well though. Okay, so what you should be seeing now, or in a second, is the screen that is presenting the ILX e-learning portal. Now what I'm going to be doing today is taking you through the learning portal and the learning hub. I appreciate that there's kind of a wide range of audience that are on this demonstration live, and also that are going to be watching the recording. There may be like a mixture of people, some people who are very familiar with ILX and are clients of ours, some people that maybe are potentially becoming clients in the future, and some people that are just learners that are looking to get a bit more understanding into what's available on our e-learning platform. So it's kind of a really wide range of people. I'm going to try and encompass all of you onto this webinar. I'm going to start off with going through some of our portfolio, showing you what that's about, talking to you then about learner plans, about taking our short assessment, which will give you a dedicated learner plan. And then I'm also going to show you a little bit of course content and kind of take you through what I would call the best practice user journey. So if you are familiar with our platform, you'll know that this is our login screen. If you're not, this is what our e-learning login screen looks like. I've already entered my details in here with my username and password. I'm just going to sign in. It's then going to give me an option of which portal I need to go into. I'm going to choose the PCAP capability portal today, but I have access to a small amount of portals here, which all have different ranges of learning and courses on. But the one I'm going to show you, the PCAP capability, when I sign in, this has access to our full portfolio of learning. Now, our portfolio of learning contains two key areas, really. Firstly, there are learning sessions. These are learning sessions. And then there is also full accredited courses. So the learning sessions are what I would call more dedicated, more specific learning, and they last anywhere between 20 and 45 minutes in terms of the entirety. Whereas our full accredited courses, which I'll just scroll down to now, just scroll through our sessions, there are quite a lot in our portfolio. But as I scroll down, what you're going to see is our full accredited courses. Now, full accredited courses, they take a little bit longer. They vary, and it's subjective into how quickly you as a person learn and absorb information. What we generally say is about 12 to 15 hours for foundation courses and approximately 20 hours for, foundation courses, 12 to 15 hours. For practitioner courses, around 20 hours. But as I say, it varies from person to person. There is nothing wrong when it comes to e-learning. One of the key advantages of e-learning is learning at your own pace. And we very much encourage that. We very much want you to learn in a way that suits you. Now, you may see some course titles that are quite familiar to you. So you've got Agile Business Analysis, Agile Project Management, that's the practitioner level, Better Business Cases, Managing Benefits. We also have, the Axelos suite with Prince 2, ITIL, etc. We have the Praxis framework in both foundation and practitioner levels. I'm not going to kind of talk about each of those courses individually today. If you want to look at our portfolio of what courses we have, you can go onto our website and there's a full list of our accreditations and sessions on there. But what I want to talk to you really is about what's best practice. Now, if you're the kind of person that's got access to our full portfolio, that's brilliant. And if you already know what course you want to do, so you may be the kind of person that already knows, me, Joe Blogs, I want to come onto the portal and I know I want to go through the Agile Project Management, the Agile PM practitioner level. I already know that course is what I want to do. You can come onto here. If you've got immediate access, you can just press the play button and begin your study on that course. Work through the learning and then hopefully do your exam at the end. Very straightforward. However, completely understandably, we have a very large range of courses and sessions. As you can see as I'm scrolling through now, there is a real plethora of various areas to do with business cases, to do with leadership, change, agile within our sessions now. And our courses are quite varied as well. It's completely understandable for people to not know exactly which courses or which sessions are going to be most beneficial to them. And the last thing we want you to do is be kind of guessing and randomly selecting courses that you think sound nice. If you're going to spend time developing and learning, you want to do it in the appropriate manner and you want to spend your time, studying what's most beneficial to you. To do that, what you can do is you can access our assessment tool. It's a very short assessment. And if you select the clipboard icon on the left-hand side, you'll see that I've already started going through one of the assessments. So it's made up of 27 questions, all based around competencies within the APM framework. I'm on question 24 or competence 24 at the moment, rather than taking you through all 27. But just to describe to you how it works, there is a description of what that competency is. There's an introduction of what that competency looks like, and then there is two areas you need to score yourself. One is knowledge and the other is application, so theory and practicality. So knowledge, you might score yourself a 2 to say that you practice, you have a working knowledge and can describe competence. You might describe yourself as an expert, you might have really strong understanding of business cases and you write them day in, day out. Or you might be a complete novice when it comes to business cases, which is this competency, so you're just aware. I'm going to score myself a 2 to sound practiced, but in terms of application, I'd probably say much the same. I am practiced. I might put myself somewhere in between the 1 and a 2, but I'm just going to score myself a 2 for the moment. And I'm just going to work through the remaining questions. There's 25, 26, 27. This one's about asset allocation. I'm not going to go through these in too much detail because I just want to work through them a bit quickly to show you what the learner plan looks like. So now I've completed all 27, or I'm about to complete all 27. I'll just select the finish button. And what that's going to give me is a dedicated learner plan specifically related to the role that I've selected. So when you first do the assessment, what you do is you select a role. You select yourself a role within project management. Now, in terms of these roles, it might be that you don't see your exact role or a role you aspire to be within these, but you can just choose the closest to, and you can also change them when you've already done your assessment as well. So you might say to yourself, well, actually, my score is quite, that 45% knowledge gap is pretty good. It's given me a good learner plan. If you find it's around 10, 15%, you might not get much recommended learning. So you might actually want to upgrade your role and increase where you want to achieve. I've selected a program manager master at the moment, but I might want to be a portfolio manager master. I might want to be an advanced portfolio manager, or I might want to downgrade myself if I've got too big of a gap to just an advanced program manager, for example. It's completely up to you. But most importantly, what it gives me on the right hand side is my list of dedicated learning. So this is what you call a learner plan. It's got a collection of sessions, and also as I scroll down, it's also got some suggested courses. Now these are the courses that have been suggested. These are the full courses. They obviously take a little bit longer, the 12 to 15 hours or 20-hour mark. I've been suggested PMP, Change Management, PPS, Agile Project Management Foundation, and the CAPM course. I've also been suggested a range of sessions that are looking at benefits management, procurement, leadership. Now leadership comes up a couple of times. That's probably because I've suggested quite a high level role within an organisation. Now it's completely up to me. Do I want to study every single one of these modules and courses? if you want to, that's absolutely fine. But what you can also do is you can just study the ones that stand out to you most within here. So you might say to yourself, okay, I'm going to study consolidation planning, I'm going to study team management, leadership, conflict management. These are some of the skills that I'm missing. Maybe I'm new to a leadership role and these are going to be really beneficial to me. And then when I was looking through the courses, having chatted with some colleagues within my company, and also with looking at my kind of career aspirations, I think change management and agile project management are going to be two really good courses for me. So I'm going to study these two courses and about 5 or 6 of the sessions. That's absolutely fine. It's completely up to you. It's a learning resource where you can study all or some. It's whatever benefits you the most. But what we've done is we've broken down that big list into what's going to be most beneficial for you. You can also look at the details. So if you just select the details, what that does, it breaks down your score into a bar graph for you. And you can also email your results to yourself, and you can share these with things like line managers, with your colleagues. You can share what your results look like in comparison to others and kind of figure out where gaps are. If you've ever got a team that you're looking after and you want them all to do the assessment, then you want to collate results, you can always ask for all those results to be sent to you if you're a manager of those that are doing the assessment, and you can kind of collate where the gaps in your team are, which is then going to give you an appropriate training course that you can potentially put your whole team through. That's what we see quite a lot, and something that our corporate team work with quite heavily. You can also retake if you want to take the test again after the assessment, after going through some of the training. You can do that nice and easily by just pressing the retake, and it just gives you the option to go back to it. So that's how you'd very easily create a learning plan and very easily consolidate your learning into a more manageable pack. So what I'm doing is just going back on the dashboard page, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a little bit of our learning. So I'm going to show you some of our actual e-learning. Now the course I'm going to choose, let's go for, if I just scroll down a little bit more, let's see if I can't find APM PFQ. APM PFQ is one of our most popular courses. What I'm going to show you is a bit of course context, but you may have absolutely no interest in APM PFQ whatsoever, or that's absolutely fine. If you do, fantastic, good timing to be on this call. But if you don't, what really I'm going to show you is how our learning is built. Even if you're not doing an APM course, it will still be applicable to what I'm talking about, because our courses are built with uniformity. The way we build them, the way we structure them is all the same throughout. So I'm going to more focus on the functionality in that kind of area rather than the actual specific APM content or anything like that. I'm just using this as an example. So I'm just going to press the play button. That's going to load the course up for me. Now, one thing I will say is the course is very accessible, very, very easy to use, very user-friendly. Nothing I think I'm going to show you is going to be shocking to anyone that's used an e-learning environment before. But it is, very powerful in its approach to teach people a learning subject. So very straightforward. You've got an option to go to the main menu or resume from the bookmark. What we also do on this screen, any updates to courses, any new versions of courses that are coming out, any courses that are being retired, we very quickly put a message on the pop-up screen giving delegates dates or information, about the update, anything like that. We very clearly and precisely let everyone know what's going on with that course at any given time. For this particular course, no update available at the moment, nothing needed to be touched with me at the moment as a learner. So I'm just going to go to the main menu. On the left-hand side, what you're going to have is your course broken down. So as I say, whichever course you're doing, it's always going to look like this. It's just that obviously the context is going to be different. I've scrolled through now and I've actually got 16 sessions of learning to get through for the APM PFQ. The reason that we break courses down into modules is for 2 reasons, really. Firstly, to make it more accessible for learners, make it more bite-sized, and what that means is these sessions are broken down into about 20 to 45-minute blocks. So even if a learner is only able to come onto the learning for a short period of time, maybe an hour after work, an hour before work, half an hour in their lunch break, something like that, you can still actually advance at a really good pace by learning in those short stints. And we often find when it comes to e-learning, people do learn in that way, shorter but more often, because they're able to fit it around their lives and they're able to access when it suits them. And they can also feel like they're accomplishing a lot. When you're learning in smaller blocks, if you've got I don't know, a 500-page module, you can feel like you're really only chipping away at it bit by bit. Whereas if you're getting through these sessions and you're really accomplishing and completing those sessions, what you're going to find is you feel more accomplished continuously. You feel like you're advancing at a good pace, and it just creates that confidence in learners that we want to see. The other reason it's broken down into modules is so that learners can really easily identify areas of development and reach out for support. It's very difficult when you're doing e-learning to feel like you've got support right away. But I think that's one of the drawbacks compared to classroom of e-learning, is that you haven't got a tutor standing at the front of the class. But with ILX, we've looked to bridge that gap by making sure that you do have support and you do have a tutor available to answer any questions specifically related to the course that you're studying. So let's say you're going through session 2 to do projects, programs, and portfolios. Now, if you just emailed a tutor or myself saying, hi, I'm having a problem with the APM PFQ course, that's not going to give me much substance to be able to support you, because I don't know what you're struggling with. I don't know any specifics. Whereas if you emailed me and went, okay, or a tutor and said, I'm struggling with the session 2 on the APM PFQ course, I'm struggling with some of the definitions and some of the statements. Fantastic. That's quite a specific question. And what you can do, there's a little envelope button down here that's got labeled as support help, and there is a support tutor email address and phone number that can be contacted in order to reach out for questions like that. Now, all that we do ask is that your questions are, generally specific into what you're looking for. We can't just, guess what you're looking for in your question, but you do have that tutor support available. And what you'll be put in contact with is a subject matter expert. So it's going to go through and you're going to speak to someone that's lives and breathes the course that you're studying. They have a full knowledge and understanding of the course that you're studying, and they'll be able to give you that support that you need right there and then. So even though you're on e-learning, you do still have that tutor support available if you need it. Now, what we find with a lot of e-learners is they don't necessarily need as much support. They're able to kind of study in their own pace and kind of take it in as they need. But just so you're aware, if you do need it, it's available on that little envelope icon under support help. I'm just going to start one of the modules now, just to show you a little bit of how the course works, how it looks. I'm going to choose project life cycles. I'm going to choose this particular module. No particular reason. I was just partway through it, so I could click resume if I wanted to go up to that 15%, but I'm just going to press play so the module stops at the beginning again. Welcome to this session on the topic of... So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the progress bar across, because I don't want the narrator to talk over me. All of our e-learning is based upon animation and narration. It's not big blocks of text for you to read from. It's not extracts from manuals plastered on the screen or anything like that. It's an interactive learning environment where what you're going to find is plenty of imagery that comes up that the narrator will talk about, but also probably bullet points of text more than anything that, again, the narrator will expand on, that will talk about. The text and the imagery is used as a guide, and the narrator will talk at further length about what's being discussed on the page at that very moment. Now, the reason I've opened up on an initial page is just to give you a little bit of a kind of understanding into how it works. So what we do is we outline what you're going to learn from this particular module. So it's 19 pages long. The learning outcome is we want you to understand project life cycles. Appreciate that's a very broad objective, but that's the way we like to set things, like to give you quite a broad objective. And then what we've also done is stated the assessment criteria. These are the things that when you take your certification exam, you need to make sure you understand, because these are the kind of things that are going to come up on the certification exam. So we outline those very clearly on the first page and just make sure you have full awareness of them. The reason I mention these is because I'm sure everyone on this webinar and everyone watching the recording is very understanding what an objective is. But one of the biggest hurdles I speak to learners about is when people try and memorize absolutely everything on absolutely every single page. And all I want to do is kind of highlight to you that we don't ever expect learners to do that. We don't expect you to memorize things. We expect you to absorb the knowledge and gain a concept into the methodology you're studying. So for this example, it's the APM PFQ. Any other course you're doing, whether it be management of risk, ITIL, Prince2, APM like I'm on, change management, they're all their own methodologies in their own right. And it's really important, and the most important thing for us is that you have a strong concept of that course, so that you can go away and you can apply those skills into your job role and your career moving forward. So I won't harp on any longer about that. I just want to kind of give you a guide. The project life cycle into how the learning looks. So this is a very typical page in our e-learning. As you can see, as I'm scrolling across quite slowly, plenty of imagery loading on the screen and plenty of understanding from the narrator. I've not let the narrator talk over me, but the narrator was speaking then. I just want to draw your attention to some of our functionality buttons available within our learning courses and our Learning Hub. First, there is subtitles. Subtitles are there for those that are hard of hearing or if English is not your native language. That's who subtitles are created for. But what I will say is, if you're anything like me and you watch films on Netflix or you watch series on Prime with subtitles on, then the reason you do that is because you want to follow what's going on. Most of the time it's just because people don't want to miss something, and you just kind of want to follow the story or what's going on. And it's the same concept when it comes to having subtitles when you're doing e-learning. It doesn't mean you need to follow them perfectly, but having them open, kind of understanding what's being mentioned by the narrator, that will really help you understand the terminology which is being used for that particular methodology. It helps you follow what's going on between pages. So if you do that, there's probably some people thinking, I've never done that in my life and I don't know what he's on about. But if you do that, if you do know what I'm on about, then the subtitles are a really good tool. But again, I won't harp on about subtitles for half an hour. I just really want to make sure people do use them when they're going through our courses. It's one of those nice, easy life hacks. The next thing I want to show you is the star button, which is the favourites. Now, the star button allows you to create a tailored bank of pages which are specific to your learning journey, or in layman's terms, it's bookmarking. So bookmarking is a very, very simple tool, very familiar with any e-learning environment I'm sure anyone has ever kind of been involved with. But I really want to make it clear and how important it is to kind of bookmark pages, because it does allow you to signpost yourself back to any areas that you need to develop on. Whenever you've learned anything in your life, whenever you've studied anything, everyone has to go back to certain, everyone has areas of weakness and areas of strength, so everyone has to go back to certain areas, just have a quick read through. For some people it's just flashing back really quickly and just saying, okay, I understand that now. Whereas some people, it means they have to kind of reread a whole chapter or restudy a whole area. Doesn't really matter as long as you're you're restudying, make sure you have a full understanding of the course or information you're studying. But the favourites just makes your life so much easier, especially when you're coming up to do certification exams. The majority of people that are going through a full course are going to be looking to do a certification exam after. And if this is you, then being able to signpost yourself back to areas of revision is a really strong and easy tool. So using the favourites, you literally just add it as I have there and press enter and then save that page, and you can come back to that at any point. This is not modular specific, it's course specific, so you can add all different pages throughout all the modules that you go through, giving yourself maybe a revision bank or just some pages to look back at the end of your study. But it makes your life so much easier. So I can't tell you how much I recommend to candidates using functionality like this. It's simple for a reason, because it works. We've not tried to reinvent the wheel, we've just made sure it's an integrated part of our e-learning experience, and I just encourage everyone to use it. Just skipping a little bit more into the learning now, I'm going to
An accessible PDF version of this activity can be found in Course Resources,
forms.
which can be
Sometimes
accessed from the Course menu or
sometimes
by
they drag and
selecting
drop
Control,
exercises like
Alt
this.
and R
Sometimes
on your
they
keyboard.
are
Complete the product
true or
life
false,
cycle
or
by
fill in the
dragging
blank.
the following phases,
Basically,
name or description
the
to
reason
the
they're
appropriate
created,
part of the
the reason they're
diagram.
brought into this
Project
environment
life
is to
cycle.
help you reflect on what you've learned.
Adoption.
So
Concept.
what we expect you to do as a learner
Extended project life
is to
cycle.
answer these questions, hopefully
Transition.
correctly, and build
Deployment.
confidence. But most importantly, we expect you to
Operations.
stop and breathe and
Termination.
reflect on what you've just learned.
Benefits
In the previous 5
realization.
pages, I would have been taught what the
Definition.
answer to this question is.
Once
And
you
it's
are
up to
happy
me
with
to
your choices,
then
click the
answer this
Submit
question.
button
If I
to
get it
check your
incorrect,
answers.
that's okay. I can always toggle back and go back to different areas that I've already studied and kind of revise and redo that. Or I can just add it to my favourites to come back to. So I used to put an X after to say it's an activity I got wrong, and then save it and you can come back to it later. But our e-learning is very much set up this way on every single course that we build. Teach, reflect, teach, reflect, teach, reflect. What we find is that people have that chance to breathe as they're going through learning. They have a chance to have that interactivity. And more importantly, they have the opportunity to stop if they've misunderstood something. In years gone by, when we many moons ago, our e-learning didn't have these activity pages in, and what generally happened sometimes to some learners was they didn't pick up on when they misunderstood something, so they applied that misunderstanding to future areas of the e-learning and other modules, and what that led to was poor experience, poor understanding. And what we really don't want that. As I said earlier, the most important thing to us is strong understanding and concept when you're using any of our courses or our ILX Learning Hub. And so having these activity pages just creates that understanding, gives that chance to reflect and pick up on any misunderstandings very easily. So I'm just going to go back to the course contents page and just very quickly run through the rest of these functionality buttons. You've also got contents, which breaks the module down into pages, so you can see what's upcoming, or you can jump to a specific point. You've also got you've got the index and glossary. The index and glossary is exactly what you'd expect it to be. It's an index and glossary. But as I mentioned earlier, there is plenty of terminology when it comes to any of the courses, and all of the courses tend to have their own language and their own terminology. If you're ever unsure over any of the terms which are mentioned or any of the acronyms that come up, you can always just jump into the index and glossary, make sure that you find the term that you're looking for, and you can be crystal clear by reading the definition and making sure your understanding is correct. It also sometimes gives you some pinpoints in the e-learning where that specific term is mentioned, so you can jump to those pages as well if you need to. You've also got resources. Now, resources change from course to course. They are what I would describe as nice to haves, not must haves, but most learners would benefit from looking through some of them. Sometimes they are quite populated like this, other times they aren't. It just depends what bells and whistles we feel are most important for you as a learner when going through a specific course. You've got things like user guides, which is a written transcript of the e-learning. You've got manuals, which are generally explanations of what goes into the course, how it works. Syllabuses to understand what goes into the course and how the examination works. Past exam papers, exam techniques. Guidance for those that are doing remotely invigilated exams. And then, eClub and disability policy and accessibility. So you've got all those documents here, and they exist, as I say, for the majority of our courses. They just might be different depending on which course you're doing. The APM is fantastic at sharing lots of resources with us, and so what we do is we put them into these resources here for you as a learner to make sure that you've got everything you need. Been through the favourites already, so signposting yourself back to different areas of learning which is most beneficial to you. You've also got student notes. So student notes is an area for you to make notes. What we're finding more and more is that people are going against pen and paper, and they're actually making their notes by typing them up. Now, rather than you having to save a Word document and kind of referring back to a Word document from time to time, what you can do is you can use the student notes and make sure that your notes are saved on a page that you're actually doing the learning. It gives you an accessible point to make notes. These can just be prompts. Some people write paragraphs and paragraphs. Some people just write a quick note. It's completely up to you. But these are kind of some of the functions that exist within our e-learning. But jumping forward in time, let's say that you're the kind of learner that's thinking of doing a certification exam. You don't have to be, by all means. You can come into a course like this if you've got access to it, and you can just study specific modules. It completely depends how you're doing your learning and what you're approaching. But if you were the kind of learner that's doing a full course with us, you've gone through all of the modules, so you've studied all the modules, these are stating completed, and now you're starting to think about doing your certification exam. Before you do that, what we have access to on this little button here is on the exam menu is the exam simulator. The exam simulator is a mock exam. It's a safe environment where you can do the exam simulator as many times as you wish. And what it does is it opens up the opportunity for you to test yourself before you go and sit the real certification exam. It's built to mirror the real exam, and it's made up of plenty of past exam questions. The great thing is every single time that you do an exam simulator, you get a different set of questions. So what we would recommend is if you're going through an exam simulator, even if you score highly on your first attempt, still go through the exam simulator 2 or 3 times, because it gives you a good cross-section of questions to prepare yourself for the exam. Now, the exam questions on our simulator are not the exact exam questions that you're going to have on the certification exam, but they are based upon the same subjects and are past exam questions that have existed for that particular course. Now, pass marks for exams, the real certification exams, generally vary between 55% and 65%, depending on the course that you're studying. The benchmark that we set for all of our exam simulators is 80%. The reason for this is because we want to put you in the best possible position for success. And when we analyse the data from thousands of our learners over the past 12 months, what we found was that those that completed all the modules in full and scored 80% or above on the exam simulator were more likely to pass their certification exam first time around than those that didn't. But it's completely up to you. That is just a guide from us to tell you that if you score 80% on the exam simulator, you'll be in a good, strong position in terms of knowledge to go forward for that certification exam. You've proven a strong concept and understanding of the course that you're studying. Just going to very quickly show you what the exam simulator looks like now before I hand over to the Q&A. The exam simulator looks like this. As I said, it mirrors. So for the APM Fundamentals exam, it's 60 minutes long, 60 questions, and all of the questions are multiple choice. My goal as a learner is quite simply just to run through answering as many questions as I can to the best of my ability. Now, I'm going through them at random now. The answer isn't always B. It's not always this easy, or I'm not actually this clever when it comes to APM PFQ. So I'm going to just submit my answers now. So I've answered about 10. Obviously, anyone doing this will answer a lot more than that. So I only scored 5%. I only scored 3 of those marks correctly. Now, obviously, most learners' scores will be a lot higher than that. And the question that any learner has at this point is, how do I increase my score quickly and effectively without going through the whole e-learning again? And we completely agree with you. We do not want you going through the whole e-learning again. What we want you to do is do some revision on your specific development areas. So we want you to revise, but we want you to revise appropriately on the areas that are going to benefit you the most, your areas of weakness, basically. And then your question might be, well, how do I know where my areas of weakness are? So what you do is you click review, you add any questions that you've got wrong to your revision pad. So I've added a few there. And then what you do, once you've added as many as you wish, any that you've got wrong, you go back to the main menu, and the button at the bottom that I missed out is your revision pad. So I've selected that now, and it's got the 2 questions that I've got in here. Now, naturally, you'd have a few more than this most of the time, but just for the example, I've just added a couple. What it does is it gives me those questions, it outlines the question again, it gives me the set of answers, allows me to show the correct answer. Most importantly, it gives me my points of reference for revision. If I've got a manual, it tells me what chapter or page I can go to in the manual to read up on this particular question. Or what it also does is it tells me which module or page within a module I can go to in order to study this particular question again and revise. What that does, it pinpoints areas of development for you. You'll work through your questions that will give you kind of different modules, different pages to go through, or different areas in the manual you can go to. You'll revise on those sections, obviously increase your understanding, heighten your understanding, and that will then mean that that is not an area of weakness anymore. It's an area of strength, somewhere that you understand, somewhere that if you've got a question on that subject again, you'd be able to answer correctly. I mean, that's the biggest trick when it comes to revision I can recommend, and I talk to learners about this day in, day out, is do not revise to answer that exact question correctly again, because the chance you're going to get that exact question again is very slim. The chance you're going to get a question on this subject again is very high. So when you're doing your revision, revise that subject, go for that subject a little more again, whether it be the full module or part of a module. Just study that subject, and what that's going to do is going to heighten your understanding really quickly, and it's going to mean that you can go and get through that exam simulator and go and pass that certification exam when you do it. Kind of that's the best practice when it comes to any of our courses and what the general user journey looks like. When it comes to exams, I'm not going to talk at length about the booking process for exams because they vary again from depending on which course you're doing. But what I will say is most of our exams are online now. Most of it works as a booking system where you get a voucher from us with instructions and information, and then you book your exam with the examining body on their exam portal. But again, it varies, so I won't kind of go at that at length. That's kind of questions that we can maybe answer after or in detail. What I will say is, though, the whole idea is if you have access to this as a learning hub, so you might have access to our full portfolio, and if you do, the best thing to do is really be doing our short assessment, giving yourself a learning plan, going through making sure that you're studying areas that are specific to you and are most beneficial to you. But looking through, as you can see, our portfolio is quite large. We do, as long as you're studying courses which you feel are going to, heighten your heighten your understanding, mean that you are, a better project manager or working in projects in the future. It's going to mean that you're, able to advance your career by using this development. All those are kind of our key, goals for you as a learner. We want to make sure that you're successful and you're having a great experience at ILX, but also you're having a great experience when it comes to learning and absorbing this information. So that's most things to go through. I'm just going to throw open to questions now. I've got my colleague Paula Partington with me. Paula's one of our account managers, and she'll be also happy to help with any questions. So I'm just going to stop sharing this screen. I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint and share the Q&A screen, if that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't appear we've had any questions so far. We'll give it a few more minutes. If anyone has any questions, please do pop those in the little box at the side of your screen. No problem. And Dave and Paula will be happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
It was just such a good demonstration. We've just not got any questions.
Yeah, that's the way I play it anyway. That's the best way to play it. Paula, was there anything you wanted to add from in regards to the Learning Hub or anything like that?
About
the Learning Hub or anything you just wanted to kind of dovetail me on?
Yeah, it's just really, with the capability license, it's a great way of building, both technical and behavioural skills for project management, and it's a really cost-effective way providing the learning as well. So if you do want any sort of further information on costs, and feel free to reach out to your account manager. There's 3 different things available on the Learning Hub. So you've got the capability license, which includes the assessment tool. You've also got an enterprise license, which gives you access to the full portfolio. So that'll give you all the certified courses as well. And then you've also got individual licenses, which you can purchase. So there's lots of choice there.
We've had one quick question come through.
Okay.
Someone's just said that they can't access the self-assessment tool within their ILX profile. How do they go about getting some help with that?
No problem, that's fine. So if you reach out to us, so it depends if your organisation, if you're a client of ours, if your organisation has it switched on. Obviously, some clients don't want it switched on because they have internal assessment tools. So the best thing to do is just reach out to us. You can email connect@ilxgroup.com or contact us at ilxgroup.com, and hope that'll get filtered to me. You can just kind of name check me. So that's David Wall, and we'll be able to support that and kind of give you advice or make sure that you can have access to it.
Cool. Sorry, we've had a few questions come through, so I'll just read through those. So someone has asked, what if you want to train several people on 2 to 3 courses? How do you go about sort of doing that? Or what would be the best kind of solution option for that sort of situation?
So I would recommend taking the assessment and then sharing the results with a manager. They will have access to depending on which product that they purchase, they can have access to the full portfolio.
Okay, perfect. Another one we've had is the Learning Hub accessible on all types of devices, i.e. sort of smartphones, tablets, etc., or is it just better to access via the desktop?
So we recommend using desktop or PC laptops just due to the course you're studying. However, you can access the assessment on a tablet, so you can log in. You just need to our platform's hosted on online, so you just enter our platform on the URL, and then you should be able to access the assessment tool from a tablet. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a phone. The only reason I say that is just because due to the size of the dynamic of the screen. You can, but it just might be a little bit less dynamic than it would be on a tablet or a desktop. So I would definitely recommend a desktop or a tablet would be the best to do it on, please.
Someone has said, are there many courses for those people that are sort of completely new to project management? Obviously, you mentioned the setting for your level, Dave. I assume that there are
absolutely. Absolutely. So you set your level. So when you do the assessment, you can set yourself as a level. So there's things like entry level project manager. That would be the best. In terms of course, it's very subjective. I do get that question quite a lot. Which course can I start? I'm new to project management. Which course do I start? It's very, very subjective. It really depends on what your career aspirations are, or where you sit in terms of industry. So I would recommend definitely doing the assessment, or if you want to kind of have that conversation potentially offline with an account manager within your sector, that may be a conversation you can have, because they'll be able to definitely recommend a course most beneficial to you. If you just outline what industry you sit in and what your career aspirations are, they should be able to recommend something. Would you say the same, Paula? Or
yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
Great. So in terms of getting in touch with a tutor, so if you had a question, how long must it take? Does it generally sort of take for you to get a response? Someone has asked.
Absolutely. So we try and be as quick as possible. Let's put it that way. But basically we tend to answer within 48 hours. That's the aim. Depends on the complexity of your question as well, because obviously we want to make sure we're giving you the appropriate answer. But we aim to answer within a maximum of 48 hours. But that, as I say, can vary. But we also need to look at trainer availability. Naturally, we want to make sure you're in contact with a subject matter expert. And let's say, for example, you've asked a question on APM. And all our APM trainers for that particular day are training. We'll have to obviously wait for them to be finished in their training in order to pick up the question. So that can sometimes cause a very, very short delay because we need to wait for the end of the day where they're finished training. So it might be that they reply in an evening or early in the morning. That sometimes is the case. And then obviously you'll be responding and correlating with that trainer. So I would generally say, as a rule of thumb, 48 hours, but we do try and tend to get a bit quicker than that.
Great. Another question is, if you've registered for a course, how long, I think it's how long will you be able to access the materials for those? Are you able to sort of download them and access them at a later time if you can't necessarily start straight away?
Absolutely. So most of the licenses purchased for any of our learning are 12 months. So you'll have 12 months. So that means you don't have to access right away. It also means if you complete the course and finish your exam in 3 months and you then want to go in and download some documentation or look at something again 5 or 6 months later, you still can. So you get access for 12 months.
Perfect. Another one we've had through is, what would be a key benefit for an organisation that's sort of looking at the Learning Hub if they've got people at different stages of their kind of project management knowledge that want different courses? Would you say the Learning Hub is a good sort of solution for that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it'll help them benchmark the capability for the team, so they can have like individual licenses. If they all take the assessments, then it'll give them an idea of where they are at the moment, and give them a focused learning plan for the team and the individual.
Yeah, definitely. It helps alignment as well. I appreciate myself and Paula have worked together with various clients, and what we get quite a lot is that I want to align my team. And so I've got some really experienced project managers. I've got some very new entry-level project managers, and I want to align knowledge. Now, what the Learning Hub can do is really bring that together very quickly. So I definitely say it's something that myself and Paula have put into practice with clients before, where we've looked and said, okay, well these courses are most beneficial for that group. These courses are most beneficial for that group. What that doing but once both of those courses are completed by the whole group, that will really align both sets of and make sure that there's a strong alignment in knowledge and application.
Great. Sorry, I was about to say, I think we've had that's all the questions, but we've just had a few more come through. This person has said, at what point is there ROI versus just purchasing individual sort of certifications? So I guess what's the return on investment of purchasing the Learning Hub as opposed to just sort of an individual course where you can get your certification that way?
Well, there is a good return, because obviously it's a more focused learning plan for the purchasing the capability license. For the individual courses, it's just focusing on one area. So, for example, it could be a methodology for Prince 2. So I would say there is a better ROI on purchasing the capability or the enterprise.
Absolutely. And just to dovetail Paula on that, what you're going to get is if everyone just went through one course, you're going to get some people gaining major benefit, that some people gaining less benefit. By having access to the capability license and the Learning Hub, you've got a wide range of courses and sessions that can be studied in different areas. So you're gonna have people that no one is ever going to go in a straight trajectory. Everyone's going to go in different directions in terms of their strengths in project management. And what you can do is you can play to those strengths. When it comes to the Learning Hub, people can actually expand their understanding and knowledge in one direction while someone else does it in another. But actually, they're both going in the same direction. They're both actually it's a well-rounded strength then, rather than just buying certification after certification. It's great to have certificates and certifications, of course it is, but without the practice and without the methodology behind that, and without actually understand that concept of being able to use it, then it's just a piece of paper if that's the case. So the Learning Hub offers you more than that.
Great. And then we've had another question through that says, how do the training programs accommodate learners with various sort of accessibility needs, such as maybe those with additional sort of hearing or sight impairments, and just general sort of additional learning needs? What kind of accommodations can be made?
Absolutely. So our learning does have full accessibility. So there's an icon that has full accessibility controls. So you're able to obviously use it without the use of the mouse. As our learning also allows plugins with the majority of screen readers. There's lots of different plugins when it comes to accessibility that most people will use. Our portal is fully accessible for all of those. The best thing to do, because there's a large range of these plugins, is to speak to us, and what we'll do is we'll work with you individually to make sure that the portal is accessible for you, and to make sure that there is full accommodation for you as a learner. And then also when it comes to certification exams, any disabilities, any accessibility needs are taken into account. And what you often get is, potentially additional time. Again, varies subjective into what accessibility need you have. But we can work with you as well to make sure that you gain that additional time and that additional information that you need when taking the certification exam. So we have a team dedicated to that that will be more than happy to help. So I would just say get in touch with us individually, and then we can help you on a case by case, just due to the nature of making sure that you are looked after properly.
Great. This one's a bit more of an individual question, but hopefully you'll be able to answer it anyway. This person said that they work for the MOD and they currently don't believe they have the assessment tool. How are they best to know which courses to sort of start with and which order to do the courses in? Is there a particular order of the learning that you would sort of recommend, or that they can kind of, I guess, see it in?
Absolutely. So the simple answer is MOD have decided not to turn it on at the moment. The reason for that is because you've got access to the GOS tool, and the GOS tool is a much bigger assessment, obviously, within public sector, but it's just at the moment we're discussing it, so it may be that it comes onto in the future. But what I would say at the moment is I can't tell you the exact course to start with. It's so subjective. I can't tell you which would be the most beneficial. As I say, if you want to have that discussion with us, we can give you some recommendations, maybe if we get a bit more information. But what I would say, if you've done the GOS tool, or if you can do the GOS tool within public sector, a lot of the recommended learning will actually plug into our portal. So a lot of the learning will be related to what's already available within our learning portal. So it might recommend, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to recommend APM PFQ, but it might say, some fundamentals of project management, in which case you might decide to the APM PFQ off the back of that. So the GOS tool will give you a lot of guidance with that. So I would definitely recommend that. Or reach out to us individually at connect@ilxgroup.com, and we'll be able to offer you a little bit of guidance based on some of the information that you can give us.
Great. Someone else has asked, does the e-learning have a read aloud option?
So so when you say read aloud, it's narrated. So is that the same thing?
I assume so.
So it's fully narrated. I just didn't put that on the screen. I apologise. It's only because it will talk over me, and so the narrator will speak loud. It's not, you haven't got to follow the subtitles at all if you don't want to. It fully, as the page is loading, the narrator will be speaking. So it's all spoken word.
Another question we've had, we've got questions flying in now. Another question we've had is, how can, as sort of a team leader, how can you be sure that your team are doing the e-learning? Are there sort of reports that you can access? Just want to make sure, obviously, budgets aren't being wasted, purchasing learning that's then not being used.
Absolutely. So without knowing which client you are, so yes, our clients, what we have access. So there is monitoring and reporting availability. There is also, we have a dedicated team, our customer success team, which is the team that I manage, which work with plenty of our clients to make sure that return on investment is met, to make sure learning goals are met, and report on progress of learners. Also make sure learners have all the understanding and knowledge of what's expected of them. But yes, to answer your question, full monitoring and reporting is available.
Great. I believe that's all the questions we've had now. I'll give it another minute just in case any more come in. But I think we've managed to answer all of the questions that we've had in. So thank you very much, both. I found this very useful, so I hope everyone else has. I think we are pretty much done. Yeah, no more questions. So yes, thank you everyone for joining us. As I mentioned earlier, we will be sharing the link to the recording of this session via email tomorrow. If you've got any questions that we didn't get a chance to cover, as Dave mentioned, please get in touch with our contact us at ilxgroup.com or connect at ILX Group. And as I mentioned earlier, we're also very active on social media, so feel free to drop us a message over there, and we can answer via that sort of platform as well. Hope you have a very lovely rest of your day, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you
very much.